So let's get started with the security audit of the IAM service. And first, I have the root account security checks. I'm taking it first because this is the very high privileged account that gets created when you first start using AWS. And also, this is like an unrestricted account. There's no restriction on privileges, so you have to be very careful while using this account. So I have five security checks that you need to perform for the root account, and I'll be going through these one by one. So the first one is ensure root account access keys are disabled. Deleting access keys associated with the root account limits the attack vector by which the account can be compromised. And additionally, deleting the root access keys encourages the creation and use of role-based accounts that are least privileged. So it is recommended that you should not create access keys in the first place for the root account. If at all you want to perform any administrative actions, you have to create user and then assign administrative privileges to that particular user and use that on daily for daily task and day-to-day basis. So let's go ahead and check this configuration is compliant or no in our environment from the console and the command line. Now I am logged into the console with the security audit user which I created for this for performing the security config review. I'll go to IAM. Now to check if the keys for the root account or for any other user in the IAM, what is the activity they have been performing, what's the last login, etc., the password age and everything. So for this I can download the credential report. So in the left pan I have this option. I'll go to credential report and then I'll download the credentials report. Now let's open this up. So here I have the credential report. Let me zoom out for you. Okay. So here I have my root account and the other three accounts I have currently. This is the ARN. But what I am interested in is the access key 1 active. So this column is basically showing if this particular user have their access key created or no, or if it's active or no. So for the root account, it's false. So that means that we are compliant to this security best practice. Now let's go ahead and check the same configuration using AWS CLI. So I've already configured my profile and I have this command right here. It says AWS IAM get account summary. So it will get the account summary for me from the IAM, and my profile name is security audit. So I'll mention it here, and this is this part is the Linux part. So from the command output I want to grab the account access keys present or no. So this particular field I want to grab out. So I'll just press enter now, and I have got the output, and if you see here account access keys present is equal to 0. So 0 means that the account access keys are not present and therefore we are complying to that particular test case. Now for the remediation, you have to sign into the console as the root user and open the IAM console. Then you have to click on root account at the top right and select the security credentials from the drop down list. On the pop out screen, click on continue to security credentials. Click on access keys. Under the status column, if there are any access keys that are active, click delete. So this is the remediation just in case you have any active security keys for the root account. Next up, going to the second security check, which is ensure MFA is enabled for the root account. Now multi-factor authentication, as you might already know, adds an extra layer of security along with using username and password. And with MFA enabled, when a user signs into an AWS website, they will be prompted for their username and password as well as for an authentication code from their AWS MFA device. So this is very crucial for the root account as we don't want it to get compromised in any case. So it's better to add an extra layer of security. So let's see how can we check this from the console and from the CLI. Now to check this from the console, in the last case, just like in the last test case, we downloaded the credential report. So in the credential report, you have to check for the root account. This time we are interested in the column MFA active. So this says true. So that means we have multi-factor authentication implemented for the root account and we are compliant. To check the same from AWS CLI, we'll use a very similar command from the last test case, but this time we need to check uh, if the MFA is enabled or not. So for that, we'll grab account MFA enabled. And here I have gotten response account MFA enabled and the output is 1. So that means it's true and account is enabled as we also checked in the credential report. So we are compliant. Now I am logged in as the root account user and I'll show you how to remediate the misconfiguration if in case you don't have MFA enabled for the root account. So you have to click here on your username and then you have to go to security credentials. So here I am. Now I already, since I was compliant and I already have one added here, uh, I'll add another. So I'll click on assign MFA device. Now you can choose whatever you need. So this is the hardware one, this is security key, and this is the authenticator app. So this is the virtual MFA. So I'll add authenticator app and I'll just add a device name, maybe demo MFA. I'll click on next. Now you can just follow the steps and then you can submit your first and second MFA code. If From the authenticator app, you can scan the QR code by clicking on show QR code and then you can scan this out and then you can uh, submit the two MFA codes and yeah, you will be done. You can click on add MFA and your MFA will be set up. So next time you log into the root account, you will be asked to enter the MFA code. Moving on to the third security test case, that is ensure hardware MFA is enabled for the root account. Now, this is basically adding another extra layer of security. So, hardware MFA has even smaller attack surface as compared to the virtual MFA because that will include only your hardware device. It has nothing to do with the mobile smartphone or any application that you'll be using. Now, checking the configuration. So here you can only check this from the command line. As of now, we don't have an option to check it from the console. So let's go ahead and check it. Now to check if we have a hardware MFA enabled for the root account, we need to first check if we have MFA enabled or no. So for this, we'll use the command which we used in the last configuration check. So I've typed it in and I'll press enter. So here, as we can see, account MFA enabled is set to 1. That means it's true and it is set up. Now next, we need to check what all MFA devices are there in the account. So use the command AWS IAM list virtual MFA device. Press enter. Alright, I forgot to mention the profile here. So you do not have to do that. Do mention the profile. And here I've got the list. So this is the one which I did not complete the setup of, but this is the one which I had already set up. Now since this is in this format, and there's no serial number mentioned, it means that it's not a hardware MFA, but it's a virtual MFA. So we are non-compliant. So you can take this as a POC to share that there's no serial number of the hardware device mentioned in this list, and therefore only virtual MFA is configured for the root account. So if you don't already have hardware MFA enabled for your root account, so here are the remediation steps that you can follow. First, you have to sign into the console, and then you have to check activate MFA for your root account. Choose the activate MFA option, and in the wizard, choose a hardware device and then choose next step. And in the serial number box, enter the serial number that is found on the back of the MFA device, and in the authentication code one box, enter the 6-digit number displayed by the MFA device, and after 30 seconds you need to put the second authentication code for verification. Choose next step, and then the MFA device will be associated with your account. So this is very similar to how we configured the virtual MFA device. Here the application is replaced with your hardware device. That's all. Now moving on to the fourth test case, eliminate use of the root user for administrative and daily tasks. As I've mentioned many times before, that the root account is an unrestricted account, that is that there are no privilege restrictions, and use of it is inconsistent with the principles of least privilege and separation of duties, and this can lead to unnecessary harm due to error or account compromise. So it is highly recommended that you do not use the root account. Um, I would say do not use it at all. Just create IAM users and give them necessary permissions, whatever they require to perform day-to-day task or administrative task. Now, to check this from the console, as I've shown before, you just have to download the credential report. And now let's see how do we check the credential report for this configuration. Now you can download the credential report as I've shown earlier in this course, and this time we have to check the password last used column. So we know that for root account we are not enabling any access keys, so this is set to false. So therefore only option to access the AWS is through a console. So for that we'll require the email and the password of the root account, and that is why we are checking this particular column. So the password last used says 13th Feb, and today is 27th. So I will, if I were doing the security audit, I will definitely report this as a misconfiguration, and I'll in the remediation I'll ask them to use it less frequently or to not use it at all. Now to check the same from command line, it's easy. You just have to first use the command AWS IAM generate credential report. So this will do the same. This will fetch the credential report as we did from the console. And then you just have to use some Linux commands like cut and grab to get these different columns. So from the command line, we are checking password last used, access key once last used, and access key two last used. Moving on to the last and the fifth one for the root account. So this says ensure root account signing certificate is not active. Signing certificates can be used in conjunction with the root's user and email, a user's email and password for added security when making API requests to AWS services. While signing certificates add an extra layer of security, they can become a potential security risk not managed properly. So this is related to the access keys. So we did not activate access keys just so that our account doesn't get compromised. So that we are basically reducing the chances of getting it compromised. So this is the same scene here as well. So let's see how can we check it from the console. Now to check the configuration, I'm logged in as root because this was not possible from the security audit profile. So I'm in the IAM dashboard, and here if I scroll down, here I see this option, my security credentials. I select it, and when I scroll all the way down, I have the signing certificates option. So I just have to ensure that there are no signing certificates mentioned here. Here is the option to upload or create new signing certificate. So as there are no mentioned, I am compliant. And if at all they were mentioned, you have to follow the remediation steps. Now for the remediation, if at all there are any active certificates, you can just uh, click on deactivate link or button associated with each certificate and follow on-screen instructions and complete any on-screen instructions to confirm the deactivation. So that's all about the root account security and performing the configuration review for the root account. I hope you found this valuable.